And we're back. Yes, yes. All right. We got a mixed bag today. Trying to broaden the horizon that we got over here. We're going to look over Briahna Joy Gray on Bad Faith. Honestly, I'm not saying she's purposely got her sights on AOC, but two videos back to back where she's kind of dissecting, pulling back those layers. That's a scrap I want to see. Most definitely. That'd be an amazing interview if they could line that up. But from what we just saw with Marianne and Jimmy Dore finding his spine, a lot of these so-called left political figures. Can you even call Marianne Williamson a political figure? Like she hasn't held office, she hasn't really done anything to. She hasn't done anything to really earn, that title, right? She's ran, you know, but anybody can run. So there's that. So Bree, AOC, and then we got Cornell West, Dr. Cornell West, Dr. Cornell West, right? We got him on the Breakfast Club, and we're gonna look over some of I'm gonna be honest with you. I genuinely like Status Coup. Like the work they do is legit. I have my criticisms of Jordan Chariton, and we're gonna dive into some of those as well, because while I don't think that he's not out here like hating on Cornell West, I do want to make a distinction in terms of the type of support that so-called left independent journalists should be giving to actual left candidates, right? It's we're in this weird space where it's a really weird space where is it all hands on deck or is it not? Because that's the kind of vibe that we used to have on the left in terms of like journalism reporters and pundits. That's the type of energy we had, right? Where it's like, no, 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 like we're all coming together. We all have like a mission to support the most left candidate and just, you know, essentially be on their team. Let's be honest, right? We're seeing what Fox News is doing. We see what MSNBC is doing in regards to like centrist, you know? So before, and Bree kind of touches on this, before used to be where you would support the left candidate, the most left candidate, not the lesser two evils, right? And then we kind of dive into like the negative aspects that they have. But to begin to be so negative over quote unquote tax evasion, nah, like come on. Let's get serious. We should push back hard on that narrative that somehow it's going to diminish Dr. West's campaign as a third party, right? So we're going to dive into that. Jordan's just, I don't know, pussyfooting around with it. And then from there, we're going to talk about like the horrific fires in Hawaii. And we're going to dive into some literature. We're also going to dive a little bit in literature in terms of Dr. West. I think it's very important. I think we're all used to hearing his speeches, which are amazing, his interviews, which are legit. But have we actually dug into his work, his writing? Especially because in a lot of ways we have two quote unquote like we have a radical Christian candidate as well as a quote unquote spiritual guru, a Hollywood guru, right? So it's very important that we dive into the legitimate work of Dr. Cornell West and how he attempts to align Marxism with his Christianity, right? What are we going to say with Marianne Williamson? What are we really going to say with her in terms of her spirituality? How to align capitalism with her spirituality? All right. Anybody who looks for her for guidance, especially like if you're a young guy, right? Like you've already lost the plot. This is a person that's here to swindle you the same way that she was swindling her books. That's why Oprah backed her. Oprah didn't back her because she was some spiritual revolutionary figure or radical. She backed her because she's a safe, easy bet. So we're gonna dive all into that. And the literature, the work that we're gonna dive into in terms of Hawaii is gonna be from Professor Trask, From a Native Daughter, which is in a lot of ways a book that inspired the name of this channel. So a lot of respect for that. A lot of respect for her work. So let's dive into it. Okay, I want to be honest. Initially, I wanted to tear apart Jordan Chariton because he's a Zionist. Ask Jordan where his wife is from. Ask him if Israel has a right to exist on Palestinian land. And you'll see what I mean in terms of my critiques with him. But I give him a pass because he actually does on the ground work. He's been doing it for a while. But more importantly, let's see. Let's share this right here. I'm not sure, it's been a while, to be honest with you. But Burn It Down with Kim Brown, I know for a while. Subscribe on this. I don't really subscribe to many people on this account, but on my personal one for sure. I've been on there, but I'm not sure. I know for a while she was on Status Coup, Kim Brown, but then she took a hiatus for a while, so I'm not sure what the status is of her presence at Status Coup. But it was Kim Brown who kind of made me warm up to Status Coup once again, because once I heard Jordan talking about like, oh, I support Israel, my wife's Israeli, I was like, here we go. It's the same fucking exception for all the so-called leftists. They're willing to bend over backwards for Israel. And we're actually going to dive a lot into AIPAC, right, and their power over the DNC, right? I was going to say all of politics, but I just want to focus on the Democratic Party, at least for today. So let's dive into it. Let's fucking dive into it. Let's start off with Cornell West. Here's the thing. I don't know how strict the Breakfast Club is in regards to like copyright. So I'm going to kind of like keep it brief for their interview. I got like seven bookmarked timestamps over here, but let's keep it brief and let's cross our fingers, man. Let's cross our fingers. All right, here we go. And you know what I'm also going to be doing is I'm going to be lowering the page. I'm going to be lowering the page every once in a while just in case. Again, I'm new to this space. Please support, subscribe, and like, because I'm bringing a different flavor to all this bullshit. Like, it's much needed. Some sazon, you know?
Threat. What does it mean to be a threat?
So here we go. This has been going around for a minute, and I just wanted to dive into this. What does it mean to be a threat, right? Because Dr. Cornell West is already being seen as a threat. But why? Why? Especially as he's running third party. It's not like he's out here calling for the DNC to set up a debate the way that Marianne Williamson and RFK Jr. are calling for it. So why is it that now all of a sudden the DNC is worried about a third party run? And I think this is a legitimate concern, whereas I'm going to say not, since Nader was it a real concern for the DNC, because I really don't believe that the third party, especially the Green Party, took anything significant from Hillary. She had a devoted cult. She really did. So I think this, since Nader ran, and liberals are still pretty upset at him over it. Bernie mentioned that he didn't want to end up like Nader. That's why he dropped out and bent over for Biden. Took our money, right? An article just dropped that Bernie might have transferred, I believe, it's 200K to a family uh, nonprofit. So that was slick. But let's hear what Dr. Cornell West has to say here.
It means to be a threat is you calling into question an order that's predicated on too much suffering of precious everyday people. Now, the funny thing for me is, here it is. I haven't had one public event. I haven't had one fundraiser. And they say I'm a threat and a menace to the constitutional order. I say, yeah, that's what I need to be doing. That's precisely what I need to be doing.
That is what you should be doing, right? That's great. That's awesome. Like, that's what we want. To bring the ruckus, right? That's what we were told. And a big through line, los perros, como siempre. So excuse me for all the noise back there. Can't help it. This is what happens when people get dogs that they don't actually like interact with. Become restless. But I'm restless because the so-called progressives do not interact with the working class. They're leaving us behind the same way that the Democrats left me behind. So, this is exactly what we should be doing, right? If you're going to be invested in campaigns and political, not just movements, it's not so much that you're invested in political movements or organizing, but if you're going to be invested in electoralism, you should be a threat. That's what we were so hopeful. That's why it was so promising that the quote unquote squad was running, right? That they were a threat. So the fact that Dr. Cornell West is embracing it is exactly what we need. The fact that Dr. Cornell West is saying, hey, I am a threat. I should be considered a threat because I actually care about the working class. I actually care about bringing justice to this country. That's a positive. Let's dive into fear, all right? The thing that the establishment is feeling right now. But in terms of how we should be handling fear, Dr. Cornell West speaks specifically towards Black leaders talking about fear. Well, let's find that here. But you should be a threat. You should be a threat. If you're not a threat, if you're not considered a threat, then you're essentially an ally to the establishment. Let's talk about fear, though.
But you keep them fearful. Remember that line of James Baldwin, that letter to his nephew in Fire Next Time? He said, don't, be afraid.
Real quick, please, if you haven't, go read James Baldwin, Fire Next Time. And that letter that he wrote to his nephew. Wow. There's a lot of hype behind certain figures, especially I believe in literature, right? And maybe I just can't relate to a lot of these figures. But if you want to shed a couple tears, that letter that James Baldwin wrote will do just that. I'll be honest, I was getting my hair braided reading that, and I was struggling. There were some waterworks, most definitely. But that's why I think, that's why I know that when Dr. West is on an interview, if you're conducting it appropriately, correctly, he's going to be dropping all these gems. And I just hope that people just take a step back, slow down, rewatch it, listen carefully, and jot down some names. Now, James Baldwin isn't like, some hidden figure, right? The Fire Next Time is a well known work. I'm not saying that it isn't. I'm not saying this is a deep cut. What I'm saying is, if you need motivation, if you need inspiration to actually sit down and engage with the readings, please do so, because we're very fortunate to have an individual such as Dr. Cornell West running and getting this type of attention in his campaign for the presidency. Now, do we have criticisms? Absolutely. And some of the best criticism that I've heard isn't Black Power media. Like, they're crossing their T's and dotting their I's out there, making sure that Cornell West walks the line. But it's wild. It's wild to hear people actually give legitimate concern to distractions. And we'll see how he addresses the distractions. But let's continue on fear.
I heard in Shiloh Baptist Church, don't be afraid. Martin Luther King used to say, what? I'd rather be dead than afraid. Mary Ellen Pleasant, y'all know Mary Ellen Pleasant, the black sister in California, who was a multimillionaire that gave John Brown, the white brother who died for black people, gave him $600,000 in 1856. He had the note from Mary in his pocket when he was executed, and she would begin every presentation. I'd rather be a corpse than a coward.
And here's the thing. For all the white people out there, if you're white, you're listening, props to you, because a lot of you are too sensitive, too thin-skinned to engage with what I'm bringing to the table, right? John Brown is the standard. I'm not saying take down your posters of Bob Marley or of Che. You can keep those up there. What I'm saying is, y'all need to have a John Brown poster. Help get that shit tattooed to remind you what the standard is for quote unquote allyship, for comradeship. Words that are thrown around too loosely. Too loosely, right? But why are they thrown around so loosely? You see a lot of these streamers calling everybody comrades because they want to make you believe that engaging with a streamer, right? Whatever you want to call the YouTubers, Twitch streamers, whatever it is, they want to make you think that engaging with this is actual political work. And you're like, yeah, I am a comrade. I am doing something. Not unless you get off your ass and go to your communities, go organize, reach out to political parties that align best with you or that have the biggest outreach, that do the most work. You're nobody's comrade, right? Like, just stop. It feels so gross when I hear these people call others comrades. It's like, what are y'all doing together? What's going on here? Because I know none of y'all are getting off your asses. There's so much money to be made. They set up the Patreons. They haven't done shit with it. And then they're talking about selling merch. Why the fuck are you selling merch for, man? Invest that into the community. But whatever. I get off track. You know how it is. Let's go back.
You got to break the back of fear. Too many of our black people, but especially our leaders, those great Glenn Ford called misleadership. They scared. They don't want to tell the truth about the suffering in the hood. They don't want to tell the truth about the mass incarceration. They don't want to tell the truth about the decrepit schools and indecent housing and not enough Medicare for everybody. They're scared. Thank you so much.
Look at that. Rest in peace to Glenn Ford. Like a gender report right there. But that's how you should handle fear. That's how you should handle fear. They should be afraid of you. They should feel threatened by you. And you should walk past the fear. And you have to. Of course, you're going to be afraid if you're standing up for the right causes. No question about it. When you speak up, there's some nerves. But the more you speak up, the more you act out, the easier it becomes to, at the very least, handle those nerves, that fear, that anxiety, that fear. And the fact that we have, again, a presidential campaign led by Dr. Cornell West here. Yes, there have been hiccups. Yes, he fumbled the start. But it's about how you end the race. It's about what you do throughout the race, not just how you start. So all these individuals, and wow, what a goddamn fucking surprise that the majority of them happen to be white, have all the criticisms for Cornell West, but are the lapdogs for Marianne Williamson, but are giving softballs to RFK Jr. What I am saying is that I need to see that same type of energy for Dr. Cornell West from these individuals. Because there is no excuse. Because then you're gonna have to start making some allegations towards what it is about Dr. Cornell West that makes you just, be a little bit tougher on him. Hold him to a different standard than your favorites. Especially when he's done so much more than they have. Do not tell me that Dr. Cornell West has not done more than a Nepo baby in RFK Jr. Do not tell me that Dr. Cornell West has not done more than Marianne Williamson, both in politics and in the spiritual aspect of things. It is ridiculous. It is disrespectful. And it's just straight up anti-fucking black. Let's be honest with that. If you're supporting RFK Jr. and Marianne Williamson more than you're supporting Dr. Cornell West, there's only one reason why. Because in no subject, in no area, is he more to the right than they are. Don't come talking to me about COVID restrictions. Don't come talking to me about, he should have ran in the DNC, right? Because that's what RFK's biggest points are, and that's what Marianne's biggest points are for why you should be choosing them over Dr. Cornell West. No. At this very moment, all the people that align with Bernie should stop bullshitting and align behind Dr. Cornell West. There is no excuse. There is no reason why it shouldn't be the case. Unless, let's be very honest, a true black radical makes you nervous. But say that. Do not equate these two other individuals whose resumes are shorter than fucking mine, just a blue-collar worker, than Dr. Cornell West. Let's continue.
Well, one is that I do recognize that we black folk have always been between a rock and a hard place. Henry Highland Garnett gave that famous speech of 1837 in Philadelphia where he said, black people must never confuse our situation with that of the Israelites in the Hebrew scripture. For us, Pharaoh is on both sides of the bloody Red Sea. That's real. So that's the fear too, you see. So Biden and the Democratic Party can just say, if you don't opt for me, and I ain't done nothing about mass incarceration, 39% of our black children still living in poverty. I ain't done that. I haven't focused on it, but Trump is worse. Trump is worse every 4 years. Republicans are worse. Republicans are worse. And it's true. So you say, we're between a rock and a hard, but wait a minute. We got to reach the point where we say, we got to speak our truth. And we got to understand we're between a rock and a hard place. That's true. And what happened at that convention in 1837? We have no way out. Somebody sing a song. Somebody tell a story about the love of your child and the love of your loved one. That's the only thing keeps black folk going. Think about Jim Crow, South Carolina, you come from.
All right, look. The elephant in the room. I'm glad that Dr. Cornell West is not just sticking to quote unquote indie left media, aka, talking to white people. I'm glad. I'm glad he's not just speaking when he does speak, to the black community, that he's not just speaking to the capitalists, that he does go on Black Power Media. I'm glad. I'm grateful for that. I learn more when he's on Black Power Media than in any other interview that he's in. Because they know what they're talking about. They know what they're asking. They know their community. And they're actually engaged. But I'm also glad that he's willing to get on here, like the Breakfast Club, and talk to people just on their way to work, man, that aren't as politically engaged. And quite honestly, have no reason to be. We'll have no inspiration to be politically engaged. We all have reasons to be politically engaged, but we're not inspired to do so if we do not have belief, faith that our engagement will result in any benefit for our material lives, our material conditions. Then don't come telling me about what people should and shouldn't do politically. But this is what Dr. Cornell West is able to do, to bring that hope, that inspiration. And I mean, hope in a legitimate way, because he was able to call out, the Obama administration. So it's not like he's selling us these wolf tickets here. But what I do want to say, and one of the reasons why I continuously move, the screen here from the Breakfast Club, is Charlemagne is a predator. We know this. He's been exposed as a creep, as a predator. And I don't take that lightly. There's a lot of these white lefty streamers that take predators on their shows, their content, and even invite them on as guests to quote unquote debate. And don't bother to inform the audience, hey, heads up. The video that we're about to watch has been produced and is starring a predator. They do not say, hey, I'm about to bring on a guest and just let you know, he sexually harassed women before he got the fame and the money. People usually do not get better, right, when you give them fame and money. But you don't see that in these lefty shows. And you see that they're even financially aligned with creeps, with harassers, with abusers. We're not doing that here. Charlemagne is a creep. He's a sick individual. He's not going to be held accountable, but he has been exposed. So please be aware of that. That's why I'm avoiding even him. He's a repulsive individual. But again, he's a big name. Again, this is a big show, especially in the Black community. And this is who Dr. Cornell West should be speaking to, not just the white left. The white left has no excuse to not support Dr. Cornell West. Especially when the competition is Joe Biden, Marianne Williamson, and RFK Jr. There is no other reason than fear of a true Black radical being in power than to not support him, right? If you're not supporting him, that's the only logical conclusion that you give me. Everybody's saying, oh, he's going to take votes from Biden. Damn right. Hopefully he takes every single fucking vote from Biden. We need him to win. Whatever criticism you may or may not have of him, legitimate or not, we need him to win. And the fact that everybody's not rallying behind him, I don't give a fuck how everything kicked off. He's in the goddamn race. Let's help push him to the finish line. Or else, what are you here for? To pretend? To flap your gums? That's it? Most people are. They're just here to collect a check. That's all they're here for. All right. Let's continue with this. And I just want to make something so clear. When he mentions that Pharaoh is on both sides of the river, right? That is goddamn beautiful, right? Frightening, chilling. Because you have all these white silver spoon kids who grew up to be lazy, sit on your ass all day, streamers, saying, oh, well, we have to choose the lesser of two evils. And here Dr. Cornell West is telling us, black people who are truly stuck with Pharaoh on both sides, where we have to make a sacrifice and make that decision to push forth and not just accept the lesser of two evil, but strive for a better world and take that risk, take on that challenge. Do not be afraid. Do not be a coward. Walk through fear and do not settle for a lesser fascism.
I mean, you've got a progressive slice in the Democratic Party. I was with Brother Bernie, as my dear sister knows, twice. They treated him badly. They treated him unjustly. They rigged the whole thing. You had Hillary Clinton and the others were going to ensure that he did not win no matter what. So at the core of the Democratic Party is a rot. And that rottenness is corporate greed. And they tied to big money, big donors, big benefactors. Can't be a member of the Democratic Party and win without access to big money. Now, I'm as broke as the 10 Commandments financially, personally, collectively, and I don't mind. Because somewhere I read, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all the rest of the things will be added. So when I hear AOC, I say, okay, she.
All right. Yo, like I said, this is the through line that happened when I was lining these stories up made me really happy. Because AOC is just running through all these videos, the majority of these videos that we'll be seeing. And honestly, we'll tie her into the Hawaii thing as well. And I say thing. But y'all gonna see how upset that truly fucking makes me. The fires in Hawaii. The colonization of Hawaii. The exploitation of Hawaii. And how this was always gonna be the end result. But one of the criticisms that I do have for Cornell West is show us that you're not spineless like the others. You're already showing that by running third party. You're not bending the knee to the DNC. Great. And I know everybody's your brother. I know everybody's your sister. I understand that. That's beautiful. But please distinguish yourself. Because Bernie betrayed so many of us. Bernie misled so many of us. Bernie abandoned a movement. He refused to make it a movement in order to remain in the good graces of the DNC, in order not to be vilified like Nader. Show us, tell us that unlike him, you're a man of your fucking word. We know it. Those that have followed your work, we understand that. Whatever disagreements we may have, we see who you are. But especially now, the people who you're speaking to in the Breakfast Club, right? Tell them, let them know I'm not going to throw in the towel the way that Bernie did. I'm not going to turn my back on you after all the donations that y'all give me. Please make that distinction more visible. Please verbalize it so that people don't think that you're a fucking coward like Bernie. We know you're not. Please let those others know as well. And the only way you could really do that is, unfortunately, I understand that's your homie. I get it. That's your friend. But the only way to truly do that, to illustrate that, is by speaking truth. Bernie's a coward. Bernie quit. Bernie betrayed everything that he's supposed to represent. He took your money and ran. It's fine. That's the truth. You don't have to go beyond the truth. You don't have to add extra seasoning. You don't have to put más salsa en tus tacos. Like, it's fine. But let's be honest about it. Let's be honest about the cowardness. The cowardness of Bernie Sanders. All right.
Suffering when it comes to presidential politics, and people are so quick to endorse without leverage. I mean, it's amazing to me that people say, Brother West, you have a chance of turning the whole election. I told my wife, now how in the world? Just 3 months ago, I wake up and I'm listening to Aretha. Ain't nobody thinking about me. 3 months later, I got the power to turn the whole election.
That means somebody.
Let me turn on the light real quick. All right. Look at that jab. Love it. That's a stiff jab that he's got right there. Some speed and accuracy in that jab. I love to see it.
Because it ain't about her, it ain't about me, it's about the people suffering. When it comes to presidential politics, and people are so quick to endorse without leverage. I mean, it's amazing to me that people say, brother.
All right. So the question was, again, on the through line, on AOC. On Bernie as well. Of why they didn't. Well, to be fair, and here's the thing. To be fair, when Bernie announced his support, his endorsement of Joe Biden, Dr. Cornell West had yet to announce his campaign. But as we will see later, AOC did that happily on Pod Save America. So that's what he's saying here, right? Why would you do that without any leverage? Why do that so far out? Why do that when the only left candidate is running third party? Can you imagine? Can you imagine the support that Dr. Cornell West would have gotten if AOC said, no, I'm endorsing Dr. Cornell West? I will be on the campaign trail with him. That would have been insane. That would have been when AOC came out and supported Bernie Sanders after his heart attack, right? His condition, after he was hospitalized. Same energy. Honestly, I think it would have been crazier. It would have been headlines everywhere if she would have done that. And what would she have to lose? This individual who was willing to say in AOC, Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, right? This is an individual who said, I'm okay with being a one term. I'm okay with just having one term, right? So why not endorse the actual left candidate. Especially, yo, keep your fucking mouth shut to both AOC and to Bernie until it's absolutely necessary. If you're not going to support the only left candidate running. That's not how you do politics. Even I can see that. What are you doing? If you're not going to support Dr. West, tease that out a little bit. Play with the DNC. Get something. Your brand, your name, your support, it still matters. For how long? Who knows? And we'll dive into that. We'll dive into that with Bad Faith and Briahna going for the double tap on AOC. But at least if I can't respect you, if I can't see you as principled, if I can't respect you as an individual, at the very least, let me respect you as a politician. Oh, you're not ruthless? Oh, you're not willing to fight for the working class? At least fight harder for your fucking career. Show me that you got some teeth. If not for me, for yourself. All right. Let's go in on Biden.
Justice system when it comes to black folk. And so what happens is Biden is cast as being now, he's created the best economy that we can get. And when we leave this place, we're going to see homeless brothers and sisters right around the corner. Mm-hmm. We leave this place, we know that the children don't have what they ought. Mm-hmm. Workers don't have what. Is this the best that we can get? You're going to tell that lie to the people just for Biden to win so we can push back fascism? All that means is fascism is coming. Because if the only opposition to fascism are lies, then sooner or later fascism is going to take over.
And there it is. There it is. Any tears? Any crying? Any groveling to the DNC for why we need to support Biden? Hell, why you would support anybody running in the DNC like Marianne Williamson or RFK Jr.? Any of that should go out the window with that right there. The only way to truly combat fascism is by supporting the left. Not the center left, but the left. Not the center right, if you want to get that label to RFK Jr. Center left, if you're being generous with Marianne Williamson. And the right in Biden. If you do not believe that Biden is on the right, then you're historically illiterate. It's that simple. So support the left candidate. If you're still into electoral politics, there is no reason not to. Everything else is a fucking excuse. So let's dive into the last clip about this, and we'll do that transition real quick for status quo. Jordan Chariton.
And the thing is, I mean, I told you before, I got so much gangster in me. I was a gangster before I met Jesus. I ain't nothing but a redeemed sinner with gangster proclivities. So that there's a whole lot of things. Anytime I would see you in there. Positions at their best are true too.
I love the disruption you called it, and you know you're a threat when everybody is saying you're going to be a threat. But I also see the media; they're not wasting no.
Again, just to be very clear, because his voice is so fucking upsetting. Charlemagne is a predator.
Time attacking you because now they're saying you owe $500,000 in taxes, and they're trying to say it's hypocrisy on your part because you spent so much of your life advocating for higher taxes on the wealthy. I'm like, I ain't never heard any of this about Dr. Cornell West before, but now all of a sudden he's running for president. Everything's coming out the woodwork. Here it is go.
Absolutely. And the thing is, I mean, I told you before, I got so much gangster in me. I was a gangster before I met Jesus. I ain't nothing but a redeemed sinner with gangster proclivities. So that there's a whole lot of things. Anytime you shine a flashlight under somebody's clothes, you're gonna find all kind of mess, because that's what it is to be human. But the thing is, one, you don't want to lie about it. I'm gonna tell the truth. I see what upsets when they lie about my kids. That's what I can't say. Lying about my kids, because I take care of my kids. I love my kids. I give them everything I got. My wife be the first one to do. So it's a line on my kids, and you can imagine, because I'm a Christian, not a pacifist. They start lying on my mama, even though she's in the grave. Hey, we ain't holding. Dang, that's how I was raised and reared. I'm serious. That love inside of me is such. I'll go down. I go to the grave for that.
And you already told me, bro.
All right. All right. So you heard it, right? Let's hear that one more time.
So I can't say. Lying about my kids. And the thing is, I told you before, I got so much gangster in me. I was
any of this about Dr. Cornell West before, but now all of a sudden he's running for president.
Everything's coming out the woodwork.
Here it go.
Absolutely. And the thing is, I told you before, I got so much gangster in me. I was a gangster before I met Jesus. I ain't nothing but a redeemed sinner with gangster proclivities. So that there's a whole lot of things. Anytime you shine a flashlight under somebody's clothes, you're gonna find all kind of mess, because that's what it is to be human. But the thing is, one, you don't want to lie about it. I'm gonna tell the truth. I see what upsets when they lie about my kids. That's what I can't say.
So look, to me, that's pretty damn fucking clear. He's saying I'm not perfect. Now they're shining a light on me. That's what it means to be human. I'm not perfect. And then he goes on to say, they can call me out in my imperfections, but just don't lie, especially don't be lying on my kids. To me, that gives it as much significance, as much attention as this whole tax BS deserves. And then people were like, oh, well, did you have the same energy for Trump? Well, one, we all knew Trump was a crook. But two, and more importantly, it could be 500K, it could be 2 million, whatever you want, whatever price you want to put on it. And I'm going to say, good. Deduct it from reparations that Cornell West deserves. Just deduct it from his check. Because it ain't gonna scratch the surface of what he deserves, of what every black individual deserves, whose ancestors were in chattel slavery. Combat it. Push back on it. He dismisses it. Yep, flash a light on me. I'm imperfect. You're going to find some things. Just don't mention my children. That was the message. That was it. And what I'm saying as a supporter of his campaign, because he is the only left candidate running for the presidency, right? All I'm saying is, fuck that. Deduct that 500K or whatever it is. Check that the U.S. government should be cutting to every black American descendant of chattel slavery if you really want to make it a fucking issue. If you really want to press that. If we want to talk about money, let's talk about money. If you want to talk about what is owed to the federal government, let's talk about what the federal government owes black Americans. That should be the counter to that bullshit, that distraction. If that is the reason, that ludicrous reason, anybody would choose to legitimize Biden or Williamson or RFK, or to make you doubt your support for Dr. Cornell West, your eye is not on the prize. Some bullshit. Because everything that he stands for is further to the left of any of those three individuals. So as a leftist, there's no excuse. I don't care how much he may or may not owe to the feds. Oh, it's hypocrisy. It's hypocrisy that he's asking, that he's saying that he's going to raise the tax on the rich, and he hasn't paid his taxes. Nope. Deducted from the check that every black American descendant of slavery deserves. And that 500K probably won't even be half of that check. Because that's how much is owed to them. The fucking nerve of the feds to come out with this, right? That's the pushback it deserves. So let's hear this man, the cowardness not to be aggressive. How comfortable are these individuals sitting on a fence? I wouldn't be that comfortable. You wouldn't be that comfortable. How comfortable are these individuals sitting on a fence? Let's hear him out. See what he's got to say. And again, I'm not saying that he's out here attacking Cornell West. But you ain't supporting him like you should either. The benefit of the doubt.
He has not denied that he owes a good amount of money, but he disputes that number. So benefit of the doubt. I want to wait to hear from him on that. Listen, I don't know his net worth, but if you give paid speeches for many years, you're a well-known academic, taught at Harvard, Princeton, those are good paying jobs. Books, I'm sure he was doing well, which obviously the better you're doing, well, unless you have an army of accountants, you would owe more in taxes. Does Cornell West strike me as someone who's like just aggressively just choosing not to pay his taxes? No. There might be, some just, he's an academic and not good with the details. I don't really know. That's not an excuse. Like, I'm not going to give him a benefit of the doubt I wouldn't give others.
Why not? Why wouldn't you give him the benefit of the doubt? Considering this man's history. Again, whatever political disagreements I may or may not have with Dr. Cornell West, I'm comparing him, his resume, his work to those of Biden, Marianne, and Bobby. Because that's what we're talking about here, right? Oh, I'm sure he made millions in speaking engagements. I'm sure he made millions as a professor. But he couldn't even get tenured. And he walked away. Right? From an established academic institution. AKA where the money's at. But you're over here saying, you're over here saying what exactly? The only thing you should be saying is fuck the smears. This is irrelevant to his campaign promises, right? To what he's running for. But you're like, I'm not really going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but I'm not really going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Status quo. Jordan Chariton. Either you believe that you are irrelevant and that you make no difference, meaning you're just spinning your wheels over there, or you understand as a member of the media that what you say and what you do matters, influences people. So we're going to stand behind a left candidate, the only left candidate running in Dr. Cornell West. Let's see some fucking aggression. Forget the benefit of the doubt. Have his back. Push back. What are y'all fucking doing, man? The way that you guys are all sent for Bernie, but you're not willing to stand firm for Dr. Cornell West's campaign, the only leftist running for president. I wonder why. You make me wonder why, Jordan. Again, it's not that you're attacking him, Jordan. It's that you don't got that fucking energy to support him. Or you one of these fucking morons that believe, I'm a journalist, I must be objective. The fuck out of here with that. Either you're a fighter or you're not. Shit, man. And what pisses me off too is like, again, man, was your wife a fighter for the IDF? Or what is it that makes you a little like squeamish? Makes you hesitate to go on and give a full-throated support for Dr. Cornell West. Because the guys that are interviewing right here, these guys, yeah, these liberal Zionists are giving a full-throated support for Marianne. And they've done it 4 times on air. All right, and then one last thing from him. Mm. Y'all hear that? So he saw the Breakfast Club interview. Y'all did not hear that. Let's go back. Give me 1 second here. 12:07. Now I'm starting to wonder whether y'all heard me earlier.
I will say I don't really think he answered it when he was asked. I think on the Breakfast Club, he kind of, I don't want to say dodged it, but didn't really fully answer it. So he'll have to answer it for sure. And it's about who will ask. And I think this is the tip of the iceberg. I mean, if he keeps gaining momentum in polls, they'll be going after every speech he ever made, things that he said that might come off radical. We know they would have done that if Bernie had won the nomination. They'll go after him having children with different women, like stupid stuff. So he's just got to be prepared.
All right. I just want to show you all that I'm a fucking hater through and through. Boom. I'm a committed hater of anything. But let's be very clear. You see this like just two-faced approach that Jordan has, saying, "Oh, well, he didn't answer the question about taxes on the Breakfast Club," meaning he saw the interview at the Breakfast Club. He's saying, "Well, he didn't answer it. He didn't dodge it, but he kind of sidestepped it. Did he answer it or not? Did he dodge it or not?" Because to me, it was very clear. He gave it the importance that it required. He addressed it the way something so irrelevant should be addressed. He said, "If you shine a light on me, I am not perfect. And that's fine. Just say that, do not lie, and do not speak on my kids." And what does this moron, Jordan Chariton, do? Immediately, oh, the media's going to start talking about illegitimate children that he's had with other women. Bro, you saw the fucking interview because we just referenced it. You saw him on the Breakfast Club. You saw the question that was asked. You heard it loud and clear because you just referenced it right now. As you're trying to two sides it, right? And he said, "Don't bring my kids into it." And what the fuck is the first thing you do? And that's why, like, these fence sitters, especially the ones that were supporting Bernie, when they're trying to be slick like this, it makes me look at them sideways because I'm like, wait a minute. What are you really trying to say? What are you really doing here? Because you're saying, oh, stupid things like that. But you're the one bringing up the stupid fucking things like that, especially after you heard him say, "Do not bring my kids into this." And you bring up his kids. I'm telling you, you cannot trust these Zionists. And I wouldn't be surprised if he actually never comes out and supports Cornell West because of his stance and his support for Palestinians in Palestine. You always hear Jordan saying, "Oh, I got to go. My wife's getting upset. Oh, I can't vote. I can't support Cornell West because my wife, my IDF loving wife, is getting upset." All right. Let's move on. Let's move on because that shit's getting me heated. And we're still going to talk about AIPAC in a bit. Yo, if I go back and there's like a chunk that was muted out, a la basura, I'm going to have to like run this shit back or something because Now I'm really upset. All right, bad faith. Here we go. I'm like goddamn 20 timestamps on this. I'm over here worried about the Breakfast Club flagging this video. Yo, Bree might be like, nah, dog, like you got a little too comfortable there. All right, just finding my place. You know what though? Let's give Dr. Cornell West a little respect that he deserves. You have people out there reaching out to Marianne Williamson, talking about, oh, can you give us any spiritual guidance? What can we do to be better individuals? She's like, befriend Oprah. That's what you can do. Man. So what we're gonna do right now is what we're gonna do right now. So we're gonna read a little bit from Dr. Cornell West, Religion and the Left. This is from the Reader, the Cornell West Reader. And this is probably one of the most underappreciated things about Cornell West in terms of what he could bring to the left. I went through that phase of not straight like atheist, like Reddit atheist, but I wouldn't step into a church for a while after really, reading up on colonization and how it was essentially led and excused and downplayed by the Catholic Church. But as I started engaging with more modern left history and seeing just how many, Christian Catholic radicals were out there supporting revolutionary movements, were there with their communities, I got to give my respect. Not to the institutions, but to the individuals and their faith. So I'll start off with this longer section here. This is Religion and the Left by Dr. Cornell West. And we're going to read this section on religion and Marxist theory. In case anybody's wondering where I stand politically. The classical Marxist understanding of religion is more subtle than is generally acknowledged. Crude Marxist formulations of religion as the opium of people, in which the religion masses are viewed as passive and ignorant objects upon which monolithic religious institutions impose fantasies of otherworldly fulfillment, reveal more about enlightenment, prejudice, and arrogant self-images of petty bourgeoisie intellectuals than the nature of religion. Contrary to such widespread crypto-Marxist myths about religion, Marx and Engels understood religion as a profound human response to and protest against intolerable conditions. For Marx and Engels, religion as an opium of the people is not a mere political pacification imposed from above, but rather a historical, circumscribed, existential, and experimental assertion of being by dehumanized historical agents under unexamined socioeconomic conditions. Marx and Engels characterize religion as alienation, not primarily because it is unscientific or pre-modern, but rather because it often overlooks the social economic conditions that shape and mold its expressions, and thereby delimits human power and efforts to transform these conditions. In short, the classical Marxist critique of religion is not on a priori philosophical rejection of religion. Rather, it is a social analysis of and historical judgment upon religious practice. For Marx and Engels, religion often overlooks the socioeconomic circumstances that conditions its expression, principally because of religious preoccupation with cosmic vision, ontological pronouncements on human nature and personal morality. At arm's length, social and historical analysis. Hence, religion, at its worst, serves as an ideological means of preserving and perpetuating prevailing social and historical realities. And it is best, and at its best, yields moralistic condemnations of and utopian visions beyond present social and historical realities, with few insights regarding what these realities are and how to change them. The Marxist point here is not simply that religion alone is an impotent and inadequate form of protest, but also that without a probing and illuminating social and historical analysis of the present, even the best intentioned religious and moralists will impede fundamental social and historical transformation in stark contrast to crude Marxists. Marx and Engels do not claim that only a substitution of a rigid Marxist science of society and history for false religion and glib moralism can liberate humankind. Rather, that a Marxist social and historical analysis can more effectively guide transformative human praxis, motivated in part by moral and or religious norms of human freedom and democracy. You think Marianne's literature packs that kind of punch? You think Marianne has that type of energy? You think Marianne can provide that type of analysis? Do you think anybody should go to Marianne for this type of analysis? For a true intellectual thought and not just some Hollywood guru bullshit? Come on now. All right. Let's read this last section right here. So, to take seriously the culture of the oppressed is not to privilege religion, but to enhance and enrich the faltering and neglected utopian dimensions of left theory and practice. It is to believe not simply in the potential of oppressed people, but also to believe that oppressed people have already expressed some of this potentiality in their actual products, their actual practices. To be a person of the left is not only to envision and fight for a radical, free, and democratic society, it is also to see this society in the making as manifest in the abilities and capacities of flesh and blood people in their struggle under conflictual and contradictory socioeconomic conditions, not of their own choosing. This is the fundamental message regarding the relations of religious practices to a revolutionary praxis beyond capitalist civilization. Yo, it's getting hot. It's getting hot in this fucking room. But also, that shit right there is heavy. It's heavy If I would have read that when I was younger, if I would have read that when I was, in that anti-religious phase, never truly an atheist, but truly anti-Christian at the very least, I don't know if I would have been receptive to it. But now, having met people who truly practice both Christianity and also, Islam, I appreciate it. I truly do. And it is something that the left, and specifically in regards to this work, that Marxists need to engage with. Because there are more than quite a few badass motherfuckers in history who have done a lot more than we have and possibly will ever do, who are religious. And we got to be okay with that. We got to be comfortable with that contradiction and make sure that we don't alienate others for it. All right, now we could dive into bad faith.
Have we had, significant movement on a $15 minimum wage since then? No, right? Like you have to take advantage of these moments and establish the precedent for the future. And I think that, the big point for me that I think really no one has addressed, certainly not Eric Levis, but no one has addressed this. I am just frustrated as hell by like being caught between AOC is this transformational figure who transcends politics, and she's swept in here on a revolutionary agenda, and she's like the future of our party, and wow, she's so amazing. By the way, please donate to our campaigns. And then that immediately turns to, oh, but you can't expect anything, right? Like, oh, you thought that she was going to like accomplish something? Oh, you're so naive, you're so silly. That's absurd, right? And it's been this way with the left Democrats, for at least 5 or 6 years. It's just that like the constant sort of back and forth between we're coming in to change Washington and please give us your dollars because it's so important,
Right.
but also you're naive and a fool if you think that we ever could have accomplished anything.
Right off the bat, I think this guy's, I'm pretty sure he's been on a couple of times, Bad Faith, because I remember his face and like he has a way about him that's a little funny. Like just he's so frustrated, man. Like this guy gives that vibe of he just got done with a 12, 14, 16-hour shift and he's just like, man, like I'm exhausted. Now I know that he's a white collar worker or whatever, but I don't know, it just gives that energy of just, man, I need a break. I just need a quick nap, 30 minutes and I'm back on or whatever. But he's right here. He's absolutely right. Let's play that back just a little bit.
Significant movement on a $15 minimum wage since then? No, right? Like you have to take advantage of these moments and establish the precedent for the future. And I think that the big point for me that I think really no one has addressed, certainly not Eric Levis, but no one has addressed this. I am just frustrated as hell by like being caught.
All right, let's dive into the first aspect of that. Take advantage of these moments, right? You only have such few openings, very little openings to make a difference, to make an impact. And you got to strike. You got to stand your ground. You got to square up and you got to go for it. These moments dissipate. They're forgotten. He's correct. We're not talking about 15-minute minimum anymore. We're not fighting for that anymore. So what had to happen? We see the very few unions that we have left trying to fight on their own, being restricted by our supposed political allies, having to settle in fear of being once again betrayed and held back by the Democrats. We'll dive a little further into that because I mean that is my theory to why the UPS, drivers settled for what they got, and I'm glad they got more than the initial offer. But I really do believe that the fear that they would get betrayed by the Democrats, the way that the rail workers got betrayed, that they're like, you know what, let's just take what we can now while we're uncertain that we're going to be held back, then, the risk that once again Biden and his administration is going to betray the working class the way they did the union railroad workers. I really believe that that's why UPS took that deal. It's because Just like Cornell West said, in that moment, Pharaoh's on both sides. And in a very, specifically class analysis view, not only are you up against corporate power, but the people who should be on your side, the Democrats, who are currently in power, are slowly approaching to put you down, to put you back in your place. So I really do believe that they took that deal because they saw what Democrats did to the railroad workers, how they betrayed them, how they turned their backs on them. But here we're going to focus on AOC. So yeah, 15 minimum. Not part of the conversation anymore. Unwilling to fight for it. So there you have it. It's off the table now. So what else is his second point that he makes here?
Between AOC is this transformational figure who transcends politics, and she's swept in here on a revolutionary agenda, and she's like the future of our party. Wow, she's so amazing. By the way, please donate to our campaigns. And then that immediately turns to, oh, you can't expect it, right? Like, oh, you thought that she was going to like accomplish something? Oh, you're so naive, you're so silly. That's absurd, right? And she's been this way with the left Democrats, for at least 5 or 6 years. It's just that like the constant sort of back and forth between we're coming in to change Washington and please give us your dollars because it's so important,
Right.
but also you're naive and a fool if you think that we ever could have accomplished anything.
And there you go. That's what liberals are amazing at, the double speak. I'm going to bring the noise. I'm going to bring the ruckus. Please give me your money, working class, because we're not bothering the rich people anymore. We're like bothering the poor and working class. Please give us your support. We give the support, financial support, the little that we have. And then what do you do once you're in power? You talk down to us and you say, why would you think that? How could you be so stupid and so naive? I'm just one person. What do you think I can do? And it's like, wait, motherfucker, you said that if I invested in you, both my time and financially, that you would fight for me, that you'd be there, that you would make that difference. But now you're telling me that you can't, that it's not enough? That's all I got. You took me for everything I had. How do you expect the working class to continue to support these people? We're too broke to be Charlie trying to kick that football. You're not slick enough to be Lucy either. So what the fuck do you mean, like, continue to support us? Now your institutions are crumbling. Your political movements are crumbling because you expected us to pay the bill. You weren't willing to open up your coffers to sustain a movement. Now that you're comfortable, now that you're there. But you want to tell us, hey, my hands are tied. Hey, what do you expect me to do? You don't understand politics. Nah, motherfuckers. We understand politics very well. We understand politicians even better. We just thought for a brief moment in time that you were going to be different. We believed you. But how often do you think you fool the people? For how long do you think you could fool people? Come on. And now it's our fault if y'all lose your elections? No, it's just the consequences of your actions and, more importantly, your lack of action. Yeah, but we're fucking naive. And when you lose your next campaign, we're the naive ones. We're the ones that didn't show up. But why aren't you showing up to fight?
Issues that are more of a sort of red line, do not cross sort of a thing for me than voting to break a strike. Right? And this is something that I hold against Bernie Sanders as well, which is, I mean, look, we just saw the Teamsters extract a contract out of UPS that UPS really didn't want to have to sign. That was much better. Whatever you want to say about the deal, and I'm sure it'll be prosecuted for years, but it was good enough. Whatever you want to say about the deal, the initial offer was much worse. The Teamsters were able to get a much better deal for hundreds of thousands of UPS workers because they had the threat of a strike. And the threat of a strike meant we can cost your company hundreds of millions of dollars in losses. Do you want to do it? And UPS decided they did. They would rather sign a better contract. So to look at the railway workers and say, you know what, I'm going to use 11th dimensional lefty chess and suggest that, that voting to forbid you the right to strike is somehow in the best interest of this movement. To me, that's just a sort of like a red line.
Yeah.
And
that's exactly it. A red fucking line. there is no excuse to continue to support, at the very least nationally, these so-called progressives. Because you stood by and some of you embrace this. Breaking a strike is the most vile, disgusting thing you can do to the working class. We are barely holding on to unions. Most of us are not fortunate enough to be in unions, to have that support, that safety in numbers, that safety in unity. And what do you do? What do you do when we actually stand up and fight and use the advantage, the benefit, when we weaponize unions? You break it. The Democrats fucking break it, and the progressives just sit idly by. If they don't support the breaking, you don't see them out there after the breaking, after the dismantling of the only power, of the only true power, and the only threat that unions have, the strike. What is a union if you cannot fucking strike? It's just a club. It's just a fucking club. It might as well be the team softball league at that point. All right. Let's dive into the power, all right? The true politics. Because that's what politics is all about, right? Power.
You write in your mag piece, and more concretely, if this wing of the left-leaning Democrats was always so powerless that we would be fools to demand anything in exchange for supporting them, what were all the donations for? The Justice Democrats and various associated figures, particularly Bernie Sanders, have hoovered up millions of dollars in donations since the 2016 presidential primary. That wing of the party is in the habit of bragging about the fact that this money comes from small donors, from regular people like you and me, rather than the rich or big institutions. But will AOC or anyone in her sphere ever divulge what we have purchased with our donations? It seems decidedly unlikely. Now, I pull that quote out in particular because
that's the thing. Y'all gonna brag that all your money comes from small donors, aka the working class, and then not put up, not pay up? If you're not gonna stand for us, if you're not gonna fight for us, stop taking our fucking money. If you're gonna be no better, even slightly better than those who do take corporate money, then just leave us alone, leave our pockets alone, and go do that. But it's a very hipster thing to do, right? To say, no. I get all my money from the working class. Do I fight for them? No, that's different. Well, that's a different story. It's more complicated than that. Then shit gets complicated. But taking our money, sure, is fucking simple and easy.
just today, this kind of fascinating piece dropped by Daniel Marins in Huffington Post, in which he talks about the layoffs at Justice Democrats as a consequence of their pretty significant funding problems. So donations are down across politics, across wings of the Democratic Party, and generally speaking, the article interviews people and...
So here's the thing. If Justice Democrats isn't, Jank's baby, Kyle's baby, and just a reminder, Kyle quit after Jank was exposed for being, the crypto right-winger that he is. Sexist, genocide denial, now a transphobe. Big fucking shocker that the guy that wants to be the only face of left media, like you said in Joe Rogan, is nothing but a fucking scumbag. A union buster. Why the fuck would you want a union buster on a leftist organization? But Kyle quit. He's like, oh, well, this isn't cool anymore. My friend's not here. Homie, stay and do the fucking work. He made his own bed. Let him lie in it. His game was exposed. Keep doing the fucking work. But nope, didn't do that. But now we're seeing that they're falling apart financially, right? Because you didn't deliver, because you didn't fucking fight. It's that simple. It's not complicated. Politics is not complicated. It really isn't. At least when it comes to getting support. The Republicans show us every fucking time. Their fan base is rabid. And you boil it down, is because they get fucking results. They get fucking results. Imagine if we would have gone to the 15 minimum wage. Imagine if they would have gone through with student debt relief. Those two things alone would have, the corpse of Biden would have been reelected with a 15 federal minimum wage and student debt relief alone. Two things well within his power. Well within the power of the Democratic Party to accomplish. And they're like, nah, fuck you guys. We're the lesser of two evils, so you got to vote for us regardless. That's not going to fly. Because Cornell's running. No leftist has an excuse to not vote for him. So let's dive into our favorite, the Zionists, AIPAC.
Justice Democrat candidates against the enormous amount of AIPAC-affiliated PAC funding that is aimed at making sure that these progressives not only don't win, but lose their seats. That being the case, you still don't see people like AOC or progressives articulating a frustration with those AIPAC alliance PACs that are run by people like Hakeem Jeffries, who they all lined up behind and clapped while the Republicans were doing their force the vote moment earlier this year. And it seems to me that there's something that's really missing in the mainstream analysis when they don't understand that the potential base and the funding base that these leftists drew upon is not a base that's compatible with the kinds of sycophantic behavior that they demonstrate toward the people that should be their enemies, the people who have tried so hard to fight tooth and nail to get them out of Congress within their own party.
And this is what I was saying earlier, that Dr. West needs to embrace comparing himself to Bernie. Right? Because Bernie is the last individual to break, the hearts of those on the left and those leaning left as a political figure. He squashed whatever movement could have been created from his campaign to stay in the good graces of the DNC, to not be, stigmatized the way Nader was, vilified the way Nader was. But here's the thing. If you don't fucking fight, then we're not going to be in your corner. We'll just enjoy the show because, hey, I literally have no dog in this fight. Why would I even pay to watch the fight? At that point, I'm not even going to be engaged. I'm not going to give you my time of engagement. And then you get ran over, you get ran through by the right because they're delivering. And you see how AIPAC over here, the fact that the so-called squad, the progressives, aren't shouting from the rooftops, that we have essentially an arm of a foreign government, of the colonial state of Israel, the occupying force in Palestine, is helping to determine our elections. Fuck Putin and all that. Israel's the one doing it. The Zionists are hand in hand with the corporations, helping decide our elections, helping to determine what can and cannot be done by the so-called left in politics. And they're just chummy with it. Like, oh, we'll befriend them. No. These are fanatics. These are fundamentalists that we're talking about. When we talk about Zionists, that's what they are. That's what Joe Biden is. That's what AIPAC is filled with. There is no, negotiating with these people. They want you out because you represent a threat to Israel. And they're funding.
The fact that AOC went on the Pod Save America podcast to endorse Joe Biden, which I don't know why you have to endorse the sitting president in July of the year before the presidential election. I don't know why you need to do anything. I don't know why you have to endorse it all. You can keep your mouth shut. I don't know why you can't just put out a one-sentence press release and say, I'm endorsing Joe Biden.
So president's only primary opponents are Marianne Williamson
So here's the thing. For somebody who said that in another country, me and Joe Biden would not be in the same political party, why are you endorsing him? Especially when we have Dr. Cornell West running in the Green Party. How you don't have to endorse anyone. You just got to say, I think the voters should consider all the options out there and what best aligns with their politics, with their needs, what the community needs. That's all you got to say. That's all you got to fucking say. But not even that. You can't even do that for us. It's heartbreaking. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I voted for Biden. I didn't vote for Biden because I thought he was a good presidential candidate. I didn't vote for Biden because I thought he would suddenly become a leftist once he was sworn in. I voted for Biden because of Alexandria Ocasio Cortez. Because I really thought if she kept the same energy that she had during the Trump administration, if she went down to the southern border during the first month of Biden's campaign, of his presidency, that things would actually change down there. That some kids might be able to be reunited with their families. That the atrocities that the Trump administration committed might be not reversed, but at the very least, something might be saved. Some kids might be saved. When was she last down there? What's going on now? We got fucking saws that aren't saws all across the river. Some idiots are saying, oh, you could just swim under those things. How many unaccompanied minors do we have trying to cross that border, that river? If she went down there, the first month of Biden's administration, it would have been worth casting my vote for that fucking corpse. You know, we're never done talking about the Zionists. Never that.
And okay, so the present vote for the Iron Dome funding, I just find completely politically incoherent. Nobody who is a hardline supporter of Israel will ever support AOC anyway. Even if she did want to sort of kowtow to that lobby, she would do it with a yes vote, not with a present vote. So she gets the worst of all possible worlds. I'm struggling to imagine the number of available voters out there who in July 2023 are like, okay, it's either RFK or Joe Biden for me, but whatever AOC says, I'll do. Right?
That's the thing, though. I let her play a little long there. What political logic is there for her present vote? There is none. There is none. And for everybody's saying, because I remember at the time, individuals like Sam Cedar were saying, well, it's a defense. The Iron Dome is strictly defensive. What are you defending? What are you defending, you liberal Zionists? You're defending Israel. You're defending the occupying force. You're defending the settlers, the invaders. So what you're doing is you're providing these racists, these white supremacists, because that's what Zionists are. See how they treat African Jews in Israel, and you'll see that all Zionists truly are white supremacists. You're providing them with defense, security, safety. So the Iron Dome is not just something that we should just turn the page on and forget. No. What you're doing is giving safety to Israel. But what we should be doing is supporting the liberation of Palestine from the occupying settler force. that is the Zionist state of Israel. There is no political reason to vote present for that. They're not going to fuck with you. AIPAC hates you for reminding the world, for daring to have the courage, at least at one point, to let the world know, especially young people, that Israel's a racist Zionist state. It's ridiculous. She only did that to bend the fucking knee. That's it. To show Pelosi that, yeah, she'll play ball. Fucking crocodile tears. I don't give a fuck what she told her. I really don't. I don't care what Nancy Pelosi whispered in her ear. Did she tell you she was going to jump you? Like, yo, like, I'll see you in the parking lot? Did you put your life at risk? Because anything else less than that, show how fucking spineless you are and how you're not willing to support the Palestinians.
And people who said, look, the party is now seriously talking about Medicare for all and about a Green New Deal. And that's what sort of gave them the sort of reason to sort of get back into like, okay, I'm going to vote, I'm going to throw some money their way, etc. Those people now look at a party that does not talk about Medicare for all, that does not talk about a Green New Deal anymore. And they say, okay, you don't represent my interests. So I'm not going to vote for your candidates. I'm not going to donate to your candidates. And what I think is insane is that the Positive America guys, the Eric Levitzes of the world, the whole sort of left-punching sort of edifice out there, they say, oh, that's so selfish, that's so unrealistic, you're being so crazy, you're asking for too much. It's like, no, that's how it works, right? You as a voter say, these are my values and what I need from you. If you're not going to offer those things, I'm not going to vote for you. That's how politics works.
It's that fucking simple. It's that goddamn fucking simple. That is politics. Anybody trying to, pitch something or something different than that is bullshitting you. It's that simple. It's not complicated. I will support you by either campaigning for you or financially supporting your campaign, or both. If you follow through with your promises, if you stand by me, if you're in my corner, I'll be in yours. It's that fucking simple. It's not complicated. It never has been. Stop allowing them to lie to you that it is. It's not. If enough people support, campaign for, and contribute to Dr. Cornell West's campaign, he can win. This whole idea that's impossible, bullshit. If we get the numbers, it can happen. It has happened before. They need you to be historically illiterate in order to believe their fucking lies. But here's the thing. Parties have fallen. New parties have just popped up. Not out of nowhere, but out of organizing. If we could do that, if we could support Dr. Cornell West, it can happen. But it won't happen as long as individuals like AOC is supporting Biden. It won't happen as long as individuals like Jordan Chariton is giving these half-ass, fence-sitting comments and opinions on Cornell West. It really has to be either you're with us or you're against us. You're either supporting the only left candidate here, or you're supporting Joe Biden. You're supporting Marianne Williamson. You're supporting RFK Jr. That's it. All to the right of Cornell West. It's not complicated. All right, let's dive into Hawaii. All right, I said Bree gave that 1-2. I did say she gave the 1-2. So let's look at two clips real quick, just to give you the 2 to follow up, to get that give her the KO punch against AOC. All right. Tony Fair. We're talking about not delivering, and here I am skipping over it. This ran a little bit longer, but here we are. Let's pull it up. There we go. That 1-2 from Bree.
It's because it was called something block, left block.
Block Party.
Block Party. Okay.
I don't know if that's why. I wasn't really trying
I'm
to
sure this is
figure
not
out.
why they thought it was controversial, but I'm offering this. But part of the reason why my section of the left considers these kinds of efforts to be controversial, and the squad, generally speaking, to be on, let's just call it thin ice in terms of the way that it's viewed by the left that elected it, is because there is no block with respect to how they vote in Congress, despite its podcast name reflecting the idea that they are going to be a voting block that can use the narrow margins in the House to extract concessions, the margins that existed in the last session. when Democrats still had the House, to extract concessions in some of the ways that the Freedom Caucus has demonstrated is ultimately extremely possible over the past 6 months or so. And so I want to come back to that idea.
All right. So the main topic here is, I believe this is the individual who, he wrote an article on Justice Dems, losing their funding, not having the financial support that they once did from the left. And now Bree brings up this podcast that they're no longer going to be funding, no longer in the budget. The budget, nope, you're out. And it's a very niche thing to bring up, the name that's a block. I do think, I'm going to be honest, I think Bree is reaching a little bit, but she's reaching to make a larger, substantial point that actually is significant, that does fucking matter. And that's the fact that there is no block. There is no squad. There is no political movement. There's not even politics. They're not even doing politics. Because the most basic thing about politics is having support, having the numbers. It's organizing, it's sticking together. That's as simple as it fucking gets. And they couldn't do that. They've refused to do that because then they might actually be a threat and then you might actually get treated as such. This is why the DNC views Cornell West, Dr. Cornell West, as a threat. This is why they no longer view the quote-unquote squad, that block of progressive, as a true threat. Because they've seen, once you get in here, you get comfortable and you're not willing to organize amongst each other. You all hang out, get brunch together, but you don't talk politics. You don't vote together. You don't hold each other accountable politically. So they could take you out one by one, pull the weakest one on the floor and make them cry and make them vote present for the Iron Dome in defense of Israel. Fuck out of here. You're not even doing politics. You're just there for what? The money and the fame? If you say that, I give you respect. And this is how you know they don't do politics. Let's look at this clip right here. This is how they know they've whatever criticism you have on Machiavelli, it's cool. I prefer Tupac, but it is what it is. This is just sad. This is just pathetic. This is what I mean when they don't do politics.
Another way to make obsequious, complimentary comments about Hakeem Jeffries, who's made it his life goal to kick them all out of office, saying we stand behind our speaker. We would never threaten the standing of our speaker. And at the same time that he's literally punching them in the face and trying to ruin their careers. And so if you're worried about getting it from both sides and that antagonism from the left, try allying with the people, I would say humbly, with the people that put you into office. Because the only warm embrace you're ever going to get is from the people who you were fighting for, ostensibly. The people who put you there, the people who are genuinely, substantively, ideologically, and politically aligned with you. Because there's no amount of kiss-assing to the Hakeem Jeffries and Nancy Pelosi's of the world that is ever going to get you accepted. And what's so frustrating is that they've been doing this for years now and continue to get railroaded by these people. How many super PACs does Hakeem Jeffries, maybe if he names the next one, I hate AOC and anybody else who believes in Palestinian rights, super PAC.
There you have it. Love when she gets animated like that. Love when anybody gets fucking animated like that because it shows you fucking care, that you're fucking frustrated. Like you're done with these people. But let's be very clear. They play nice with their so-called political rivals amongst their own party. They play nice with them because when they show up to work, they at least want to feign some type of politeness. When they show up to work, they want to be comfortable or as comfortable as they can be. Because they're not fighters. If they cared about you, if they cared about the working class, they would fucking fight. But they'd rather be cool and professional and get along with their coworkers, say hi, when they're at the next function, the next party, the shit that us people would never get invited to, will never make it to. They'd rather get those invites. They'd rather get those fake smiles than to be treated as a true fucking threat. That's it. It's that simple. It's not complicated either on that end of it. They want to be comfortable. They want to be liked by their coworkers. That's it. And their coworkers are actually down for their fucking shit. Support APAC through and through, and will do everything they can to get rid of them. And they're just gonna smile all along the way. All the squad, AOC, all of them. All they want to do is just, get along. That's it. Give a little lip service, give a little pushback, but at the end of the day, when they quote unquote clock on and clock out, they want to know that they can have a little chat with their coworkers at the next function when they, cross paths through the halls. That's it. It's not complicated either on that end. They don't have the fight in them. And there's one thing that I want to look at. Because this guy, watch the whole clip. Every clip that I pull up, like every video I pull up, please go watch the whole clip. Please support the people whose content, we're trying to break down and certain things that we want to enhance the attention to, quote unquote, react. Please go watch it. Every video I pull up, please go watch the original video. Because I don't want you thinking, honestly, more important than supporting them selfishly is I don't want you to think I'm bullshitting y'all. Just go watch it. Subscribe, like to their channels. You probably already are. Subscribe and like my channel. It's that simple. Spread the love. But I do want to go to this moment here because goddamn, this guy's making excuses left and right throughout this interview for these so-called progressives. And if you're wondering why he would do this, here's why. Here's exactly why. And the fact that Brie asked this is why she's above and beyond all those people that criticize her.
Point to lefty pressure.
How much did you have student debt, Dan?
You gonna put me on the spot about that? No, I don't currently have student debt.
Did you at one point have any? Do you know anybody with student debt?
Yo, let's be very fucking clear. You're gonna put me on the spot? What the fuck do you mean, bro? Most of us, anybody that has a degree, unless you're a little Nepo baby, right? Unless you're a trust fund kid, there's no reason why that should put you on the spot. Because most of us have student debt that went to college, or at the very least had it at some point if you were fortunate enough to pay it off. But if you're over here like, oh, you're gonna put me on the spot, it's because you're a fucking trust fund kid. This is the reason why you're defending liberals. It's because you have no skin in the game and your pocket's not at risk. And you know people that have that fucking face, that little smug face? I thought this guy had it, but I'm always trying to avoid that bias. Where I'm like, yeah, this guy's on a fraternity for sure. Super douche, bro. Definitely. Never worked a hard day in his life. Softest hands you'll ever, shake. And then Bree with a hard-hitting question. A very simple question. I think they knew each other briefly, right? At least that's what they say in the interview. They've had run-ins. I don't think, if we're talking about good faith, right? I don't think Bree, I don't think Bree was trying to set him up or get him in the gotcha or trying to expose him about being like a trust fund kid. I think she just it's a safe bet that if somebody went to college that they have some debt, especially like in a career like journalism. So it's like, yo, what the fuck? Like unintentionally a great and probably the best moment of the whole interview. But let's move on to Hawaii. The fun part, the fun half's done. Let's get a little fucking serious. Here we have drone footage of Hawaii, Maui, right? And I believe reports are just coming in. Today's the 10th that the fire has actually spread to mainland. Haven't been able to find a I haven't been able to confirm that, but that's what I've been seeing. So it's just getting worse. It's just getting fucking worse. Now I'll share something with you. Due to my job, I'm a blue collar worker. Due to my job, and it's, the benefits that the union provides us, I could essentially fly out to Hawaii anytime. Now, I've been working in this job for 2 years. In those 2 years, I could have gone to Hawaii at any moment, so long as I was off of work. Essentially for free. I've never been. And I unless I get invited by somebody who lives in Hawaii, I'll never set foot in there. Now, why is that? Because of this. Because this fire, you cannot separate that from colonization. You cannot separate that from neocolonialism. You cannot separate that from the goddamn tourist invasion of Hawaii. That's fucking heartbreaking. All of you that have gone to Hawaii and rate how beautiful it is. All you people that fantasize and are working towards going to Hawaii. This should break your hearts. This should break your hearts. If you're not dipping into your pockets, at the very least, try and support the native people as they're suffering through this, because they can't get on ships, they can't get on flights to get out. This is their home. This has been their home. At the very least, you can do is support. The very least you can do right now is support. But I was very fortunate to have, many years ago, read this text. Hauonani K. Trask, from A Native Daughter. Amazing text. Please go out and read it. Especially if you're indigenous or a quote unquote person of color, if you're black, brown, what have you, then you're getting into academia. This is great. She has a great chapter on her experience through academia. But let's dive into the colonial aspect of this book that is just unmatched. And we'll connect it to the fires of Hawaii and Maui. How these things are interrelated. Colonization, neocolonialism, the tourism. All right. For the purpose of discussion, I have defined neocolonialism as the experience of oppression at a stage that is nominally identified as independent or autonomous. So let's read that again. For the purpose of discussion, I have defined neocolonialism as the experience of oppression at a stage that is nominally identified as independent or autonomous. I use nominally to underscore the reality that independence from the colonial power is legal, but not economic. For example, some examples of neocolonialism include the control by multinational corporations of former territorial colonies, Latin America, Africa, and Asia, and Asian countries come to mind. Other examples include the persistence of social and cultural practices imposed by colonial powers during the first stages of imperialism, even after independence. For example, Anglo-American legal and land tenure systems in places as diverse as the Philippines, Fiji, and parts of Africa. Finally, neocolonialism refers not only to dominant colonial reticence, but also to psychological injuries suffered by the colonized that continue to wound our internal and external lives. Part of neocolonialism, of course, is the ideological position that all is well. In other words, that decolonization has occurred. Therefore, problems and conflicts are post-colonial and the fault of the allegedly independent peoples. Nothing could be more inaccurate. To begin with, indigenous peoples, by definition, lack autonomy and independence. In the modern post-war world, we are surrounded by others, more powerful nations that desperately want our land and resources, and for whom we pose an irritating problem. This is just as true for the Indians of the Americas as it is for the tribals of India and the Aborigines of the Pacific. This economic reality is also a political reality for most, if not all, indigenous people. The relationship between ourselves and those who want control of us and our resources is not a formally colonial relationship, but an ongoing colonial relationship. That is to say, we are not now autonomous, yet dependent. Rather, we are dependent and subjugated. Part of our subjugation is the unequal relationship to our numerous colonizers. In the world system today, natural and human resources, markets, and technologies determine the value of indigenous people to the colonial power. So right there, she's essentially saying, hey, the fact that you believe that we're autonomous, that we're independent, is the illusion of neocolonialism. Because they want to put all the responsibility on us while maintaining the power, while maintaining their hold on resources. All right. American military dominance in the Pacific has meant that enormous amounts of land, water, and other resources are diverted to satisfy America's military needs. The Marshall Islands and Hawaii are clear examples of how a dominant power's so-called national interests result in the loss of lands and the skewering of employment opportunities because of the burdensome presence of military personnel, bases, training areas, and ports. Such a large military presence both directs the kinds of employment that will develop and limits the opportunities for work in traditional fields such as agriculture and fishing. A substantial military presence also creates a second economy with special privileges for its personnel, including housing, elite consumer goods, and exclusive recreational areas. This misuse of land is coupled with the ill effects of the military on islanders' physical and mental health. Finally, there is the ultimate injury, the frightening risk of becoming strategically important in the game of superpower politics. If the American military exemplifies one way in which foreign impingement structures labor demand, Japanese corporate invasion of the Pacific, meanwhile, spells dangerous foreign control of fragile island economies. And in the case of tourist investment, the indignation of small land bases and populations by hordes of visitors. The indigenous people are then presented with the alleged opportunity of waiting on tourists, cleaning their rooms, selling them artifacts, and smiling for a living. How sickening, how heartbreaking that you have to smile at your colonizers, at your neo-colonizers. And let's be very fucking clear. This is apartheid. When you have American bases in such small land masses, and you have special rules for them, for quote unquote, security. You have special places that only they can travel to, locations that give them, privileges, while the native population is pushed to the side, is denied these same privileges. That is apartheid. That is what is occurring in Hawaii. Read one last section here. All right, 2 more because I do want to dive into tourism. My use of the word tourism in Hawaii. Context refers to a mass-based, corporately controlled industry that is both vertically and horizontally integrated, such that one multinational corporation owns an airline and the tour buses that transport tourists to the corporation-owned hotel where they eat in a corporate-owned restaurant, play golf, and experience Hawaii and corporation-owned recreation areas, and eventually consider buying a second home built on corporation land. Profits in this case are mostly repatriated back to the home country. In Hawaii, these home countries are Japan, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Canada, Australia, and the United States. In this sense, Hawaii is very much like a third world colony, where the local elite, the Democratic Party, and our state collaborate in the rape of native land and people. The mass nature of this kind of tourism results in mega resort complexes on thousands of acres with demands for water and services that far surpass the needs of Hawaiian residents. These complexes may boast several hotels, golf courses, restaurants, and other quote-unquote necessities to complete the total tourist experience. Infrastructure is usually built by developers in exchange for county approval of more hotel units. In Hawaii, counties bid against each other to attract larger and larger complexes. Rich counties, then, are those with more resorts, since they will pay more of the tax base of the county. The richest of these is the city and county of Honolulu, which encompasses the entire island of Ahua. This island is the site of 4 major tourist destinations, a major international airport, and 80% of the residents' population of Hawaii. The military also controls nearly 30% of the island, with bases and airports of their own. As you might imagine, density of certain parts of Honolulu, Aiwaikiki, is among the highest in the world. At the present annual visitor count more than 5 million tourists through Ahua, an island of only 607 square miles. Wow, what a fucking nightmare. It's like Disneyland every fucking day outside your front porch for natives. That's just heartbreaking. They're being pillaged. That's what tourism is, pillaging. There's another heartbreaking fact right here in regards to how this affects like the youth as they come up in this environment. The state and counties will give tax breaks, build infrastructure, and have governor personally welcome tourists to ensure that they keep coming, just as the pimp regulates prices and guards the commodity of the prostitute. So the state bargains with developers for access to Hawaiian land and culture, who builds the biggest resorts to attract the most affluent tourists gets the best deal. More hotel rooms, golf courses, and restaurants approved. Permits are fast-tracked. Height and density limits are suspended. New groundwater resources are miraculously found. Hawaiians, meanwhile, have little choice in all this. We can fill up the unemployment lines, enter the military, work in the tourist industry, or leave Hawaii. Increasingly, Hawaiians are leaving, not by choice, but out of economic necessity. Our people who work in the industry, dancers, waiters, singers, valets, gardeners, housekeepers, bartenders, and even a few managers make between $10,000 and $25,000 a year. An impossible salary for a family in Hawaii. Psychologically, our young people have begun to think of tourism as the only employment opportunity, trapped as they are by the lack of alternatives. This is neocolonialism, y'all. You trap the youth or you force them out. She wraps up, and the reason why I won't visit Hawaii unless a native invites me there, unless I am welcome, not by a tourist corporation paying somebody to smile at me, but by activists, by organizers, by people fighting for the independence of Hawaii. She concludes, my brief excursion into the prostitution of Hawaii culture has done no more than give an overview. Now that you have read A Native View, let me just leave this thought with you. If you are thinking of visiting my homeland, please do not. We do not want or need any more tourists, and we certainly do not like them. If you want to help our cause, pass this message on to your friends. Excuse me. Their land is literally burning, y'all. Their land is literally burning, y'all. The United States government, corporations from Japan, have made it impossible for the native population to live in their own homeland, have trapped those in neo-indenture servitude to tourist corporations. And now their land is literally fucking burning. And all the tourists just get to go home. Those who left, who were priced out of paradise, they're concerned for their loved ones back home, are heartbroken that they can't go back home. And those that remain are literally being smoked out, are literally being burnt down. Their homes are being burnt down. The little that they have left is being burnt down. And I promise you, I guarantee it, because it's how colonialism, neocolonialism operates, how capitalism works. The consequences of this fire will only benefit the corporations. The consequences of these fires will only hurt the native population. It would only make things worse because these land developers will take advantage of this. They smell fucking blood. Please support Native Hawaiians. I wish I could offer you a link when I find one that is reliable. I will add it to the description. But please support Native Hawaiians while you can. Appreciate y'all. Buenas noches. Sorry I'm leaving y'all in the negative, sad tone, whatever you want to say it. This is just reality. This is what we're going to be dealing with here, at least on this channel. The cruel, heartbreaking reality. Dr. Cornell West, if you get elected, you better provide Puerto Rico, Hawaii, include Guam and the Philippines with real, true independence. Take care, y'all. Buenas noches.